Gear up for week 1 of the NFL season with our top 6 fantasy football draft leftovers to add right now and our best bets to make. All this and more. It's a brand new edition of the IBT podcast. Come right at you.
I've been going dummy, out of bounds, putting on a clinic. Stick around, carrots in my hardware. KC, caught him in the crosshair. Look at me, been the guy calling Mr. MVP. Keep your ass on the bench by my MPC. Earn my stripes like I fixed this league. Your dog's on the turf, my dog's in the street. You can find me somewhere in between. Never a dull moment like a movie scene. About to do the ops like I did this beat. Let them keep talking RG3. Coming to you live. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. And welcome into the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for both a refreshing and feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. And there's no bearing the lead here, gentlemen, as we have officially made it to the professional football season being back in our lives. And we'll get to celebrate the occasion with you today when we give you our top 6 fantasy football draft leftovers and our best bets to make. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and I feel like a kid before the first day of school. I'm excited. I'm a little nervous, a little bit of everything in between here. And tonight I'm joined by a man who I also imagine is primed and ready to go because he's a big business, light ranch and son of a gun. He's Eric Romoff. Eric, how's it going, pal, as we prepare to take another lap around starting this week?
The time is upon us, all of the preparation, all of the work to get to this point. Let me be maybe not the first, but one of the first to remind you to take your Thursday and Friday night players out of your flex spot because it's officially week 1 NFL kickoff week.
Hey, we are here. We are excited for it. And also joining us is a guy who I think he slings waiver wire ads probably just as much as he does Yoders on the weekdays. He's a former rock star. He's the current founder of the Fantasy Sports Advice Network and IBT's director of business and tech. He's Tyler Big Money Bradley. T-Money, how's it going, buddy?
Big Money, what's up? Man, dude, I'm pumped for fantasy football. I mean, like, I'm pumped for football. Like, I have never watched more college football than I watched the last week. I was watching games that didn't matter, games of teams I'd never even heard of. I was just watching football to watch football. You know, now I did find some things that I like, some future players, you know, for dynasty stashes that I was like, man, I'm impressed. So, you know, just loving it. Glad for football's back. You know, got to watch my Razorbacks absolutely destroy nobody like a middle school team, but it was still a good win, you know, and man, I'm ready for the NFL. There's so many storylines and so many new players that we're going to get to see like have instant impact. It's just going to be a fun season. So I'm pumped about it.
Man, me too. I had the home league draft over the weekend, boys. And I will say, I think I got a little too inebriated at this one. Like I love the team I put out there, but in the 5th round, for whatever reason, I just went away from my guy. I've drafted him in every single mock draft. Eric knows this, Tony Pollard. He was sitting there on the board. I was like, you know, I don't need Tony Pollard. He'll come back to me maybe. He didn't. He got sniped one pick before me. And then I was like, I don't need a running back too. I'll find one. And Eric, you want any guesses who my RB2 in this league is?
Your RB2 is Caleb Johnson.
No, worse. I got sniped on Caleb Johnson too. Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb. Hey, dude, he'll be solid for like a week or two.
He'll get you through.
We hope. We went wide receiver heavy, so we'll see what we can do there. But excited to break it all down for you guys. I thought it was just kind of one of those fun moments that, you know, you systemize everything all off season. You do the same thing, and then when you get to the moment, you panic and do something else. That felt like one of those.
I'm not mad at that though. You've got enough Tony Pollard exposure. Who'd you draft in his place? Because you're gonna hate that player for the rest of the year.
So I had 2 receivers that I liked in that tier that I thought one of them might not get back to me. And I was just hoping maybe one of them would, but I didn't think either one was. DeVonta Smith was who I took over him. So,
I think you'll be happy with that choice.
We'll see. But then I got Zay Flowers on the turn, and he came back to my 5th receiver. So I don't know if I needed that, really. Yeah, I don't know.
We just shouldn't have drafted Zay Flowers.
Yeah, well, I do like Zay Flowers, but either way, we got to keep it moving. Everyone does want to hear about our league. So, as always, shout out to everyone who's tuning in with us. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Make sure you're subscribing if you're new as well. Had a huge gainer of a weekend for the channel, and we appreciate it. It's all the regular listeners who are interacting with us, commenting, hanging out, giving videos thumbs up, subscribing. We appreciate you. We got Brent in the house saying IBT in the house. Really? What's up, Brent? Great to see you. And also saying I should have took Pollard. I know, man. I know. I don't know. I was trying to outthink the room because I think everyone had running backs on the turn, Eric. So I was like, oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I don't, no one's going to reach for one. Hey, we got Cardinal hanging out with us as well, saying Zay is as a snag, though. I like Zay. I'm a big Zay guy. Also, if you guys want more of us, in addition to everything we have going on here at the YouTube channel, everything we have going on in-betweenmedia.com, ton of written content out on the site today. You can also check out the IBT Football family. This is our exclusive community where you're going to get access to in memorabilia giveaways. You're going to get our Q&A weekly Discord show with our guys Ben and Phil on Fridays. And then you're going to get to join the conversation myself and all of our analysts here at IBT in Discord, as well as a bunch of our friends. You can get our full weekly cards, betting cards, whether that's Eric's NFL card, Steve's NFL card. You're going to get my college football and NFL card, plus all our NASCAR content over there. That's exclusive for you, our full cards there. And you're going to get access into our touchdown contest, which we're going to be making our first picks tonight. You can get in on that anytime, but I suggest doing that in week one because you can win some IBT swag plus a really, really cool offering we have coming back from our friends over at Dynasty Deck. You're going to get a plaque for your winnings as well. So get in with that touchdown contest. The link for this is in the episode description. Come hang out with us. It's only $3.99 per month or $36 for the year. We want to keep it reasonable for you. We want to try to provide some good value for it as well. And Cardinal just subbed to the channel. Thank you so much, Cardinal. We appreciate you, brother. Buddy. And let's go ahead, boys. Let's jump into it and get into it right away here with a little oh my gosh, what is the first segment of the day? It is it's in the scope. Wow, I feel out of touch. Because in the scope, only an in-season segment, right? So we've been doing headline hijinks, been doing front and center. So we'll run in the scope. Let's hit it.
Requesting permission to engage.
In the scope. All right, it's in the scope. And for in the scope this season, we're going to be doing week one stashes, who will be week two's main waiver wire targets. We're going to start with some shallow league finds that are under 50% owned on ESPN. Then we'll give you some big game hunting targets as well. So let's go ahead and jump into it with Eric. Your first target of the night for in the scope, your shallow league find is...
Yeah, it might even be a little bit more of a deep league find, but someone that I've been happily taking as my last guy off the board, that is Texans rookie running back Woody Marks. Look, when somebody out there tells you who they are, believe them. The Texans went out and sent 2 day 2 draft picks to move up and get this guy. His skill set is tailor-made for this outside zone. Yes, he will very likely start behind or get touches behind the aforementioned Nick Chubb at the beginning of the year, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see him take the lion's share of the third down and passing work in this week's game. And if he does, he's got the type of skill set that he can really pop. So a guy that's owned in 12.4% of ESPN leagues out there, but has an opportunity to potentially showcase his skills as soon as this week. And if he does do that, you're going to be feeling real smart about getting him for free right now.
Tyler, how do you feel about this Texans backfield? Is it a situation where you think it is Nick Chubb on those early downs? It could be Woody Marks on third and passing downs, or does it maybe get complicated and Damian Pierce gets in the way and it's really just a committee that no one wants to touch?
You know, I'm in on Chubb. I took Chubb in a lot of leagues. We actually talked about it on the mock that we did. I think you did on our channel, where I drafted Nick Chubb late, and this was before the Mixon injury, but that was announced. But I knew the injury was coming, and it was just like I thought that would be a good grab. Nick Chubb, yes, he's blown out his knee. He blew out multiple knees. He's done it through his career, and he's came back. And when you look at that backfield, they need something, and so I think Nick Chubb gives them a good vertical. I think Eric's right. I think that Woody Marks works his way into some third down scenarios and get some work. I'm not buying any parts of Dameon Pierce. I don't want any. He's had his opportunities and he's, we're still not there. So I like Nick Chubb, especially through the beginning of the season. And if he looks any bit electric, he may be one of those people that you pair up with another one of your late round boomers and try to move going into the season.
Yeah, you might be right about that. And it's one of those situations almost like a J.K. Dobbins maybe last year where he could have a good run, but you got to get out when the time's right, And I saw some people last year trading J.K. Dobbins around the deadline and getting guys like BTJ for him because people are desperate for running backs by the time we get to November. So love the breakdown, the Texans backfield there. Tyler, I'm going to send it over to you for your first in the scope target. And Woody Marks, while we do have him labeled as a shallow league guy, very much available in deep leagues too, 12.4%. Eric did a little extra credit here, as did you, Tyler, who goes with another guy under 10% rostered coming from Baltimore.
Yeah, dude, let me tell you. Last round, you're talking about last round pick, Eric. I have been drafting DeAndre Hopkins all season. If you watch any of Lamar Jackson's interviews, when he talks about DeAndre Hopkins, he's like, that guy's crazy. Like, that guy's special. That guy does stuff I haven't seen before. And he's not talking about him as, back when he was playing for the Texans or back when he was playing in Arizona. He's talking about what he's been seeing in practice, what he's experienced. And so, both these Nick Chubb, DeAndre Hopkins, it's that narrative of like they're too old, right? Or Chubb came off of an injury. And you saw the same thing. You got McLaurin last year at a huge discount because he's on his way out. You got Dobbins for free last year because, he didn't look great running for Baltimore at the end of the season when he finally came back, and you get these people at discounts. Lamar Jackson has never had a go up and get it, catch in traffic receiver. He hasn't had the guy he can toss the corner route to, and I think he's going to find, the narrative is they're meshing. The narrative is they have a good connection. And, if DeAndre Hopkins gives you even a marginal workload, then you absolutely kill your league, at where his ADP is. I mean, he is going undrafted in a lot of leagues. Like I said, owned in 10% of leagues.
He feels dusty.
I've said it on my show, so I don't mind saying it here. DeAndre Hopkins this year, at least minimum 700 yards receiving and 7.
Wow, that is a hot take there from Tyler Bradley, aka T Money. How are you feeling about that, Eric? Is that something you're willing to get invested with, or do you think that downfield role really is the Bateman's to stand?
Man, I was rocking with my dude all the way through. Until he made that prediction, seven touchdowns.
Better be going to bet some alt lines on that if you feel that confident.
A lot. That's a lot.
I like it. I like being bold, man. Stick to your gut.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not going to co-sign on that prediction, but I will co-sign on a lot of the analysis, right? And for me, as we head into the first part of the season, we love to hype up rookies and young players and unknown quantities all throughout the course of the offseason.
Of course.
But it's usually these crusty, dusty veterans that start off the season pretty strong, right? So DeAndre Hopkins is out there absolutely for free. The vertical downfield role in this offense, to your question, Seth, belongs to Rashad Bateman. But to Tyler's point, the go up and get it contested catch corner route role is wide open in this offense. They've been using their tight ends for that for as long as we can all remember, right? So there is a role for DeAndre Hopkins to step into and play. And if the nature of this in the scope exercise is go get a guy who can have an excellent week one and be a desirable target on waivers next week, I think DeAndre Hopkins is on that list.
Okay, I like it. And also like our guy Albert hanging out with us in the chat saying, good evening, IBT. Good evening, Albert. Hope you're having a great Tuesday as we approach week one, my friend. And guys, I'm not willing to die on this hill quite yet. I'm willing to keep fighting. Keep fighting. I'm not going to take the L here yet on Bhayshul too. And I mean, he could be nothing more than a third stringer. However, if he can go out there and grab 7 to 9 touches, we're in business this week, baby. We are in absolute business. This guy is such a dynamic athlete. We've talked about it a million times. Fastest running back in this class, hand selected by Liam Cohen and this general manager staff. And he seems like a little bit behind the 8 ball and pass pro, ball security issues. That's what's kind of kept him from jumping either Travis Etienne or Tank Bigsby on the depth chart. Still, though, Bucky Irving in weeks 1 through 3 last year with Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen calling plays, he had 10.3 touches on average. So I think if Tuten can just get close to that, 7, 8, 9, he's as good as any prospect, I think, in this class outside of the elite tier of running backs, the Hendersons, the Genties, the RJ Harveys. I think he's right below that group. And right now he was going undrafted. So I'm willing to kind of push my chips in early here that he can get it done. So any thoughts from you here, Tyler, on Bhayshul Tuten? Is he someone that you're invested in, that you would be willing to get invested with if he is out there on waivers in shallower leagues?
For me this season, no. And most of it's because the range of running backs in that running back room, Etienne, Bigsby, Tuten, they're all very similar. You know what I mean? So and they're all earlier than you have to take a lot of other backups. Like, you're getting Woody way late. You're getting Brashard Smith way late. You're getting, even people like Tajay, like way later. You should get a ton of people later than these guys are going. And so it's like, I haven't been able to muster up the courage to bet on a Tuten that early because, unfortunately, this is one of those situations where the offseason narrative led to a little bit higher of a draft capital for a player.
It cold though. It cold at the end of the draft season for sure.
Yeah, it did cool. So if you drafted like you Sunday or like this week, then you probably got a little bit better value. But if you're drafting 2 to 3 weeks before the actual season or in the middle of the preseason, it was a different story.
Eric, I know we've broken down this Jaguars running back. We have a clip out on the VOD side of things here on YouTube about, who we would want. And I was always kind of in that Tuten camp. If not, gun to the head, I guess I would take ETN over Bigsby. Where are you now, though, that we're at the season? Has anything changed in your mind in Jacksonville's backfield?
I don't know if I'd say anything has changed. I definitely want ETN more than any of them. Okay. A lot of the case that I'll make for ETN also sounds a bit like a case that I'm making for Bhayshul Tuten, which is you look at Liam Cohen and what he did last year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was a team that was third with 121 targets to the running back position. They accounted for almost 22% target share. So there are a lot of passes that come out of this system to players coming out of the backfield. That is very clearly, in my book, Travis Etienne's work, and to a lesser degree, Bhayshul Tuten's work. Right. So if we're talking about what these guys have in terms of their skill set, I'm not drafting Tuten, but if you're in a position where you have a guy that you move to your IR spot, you have a second kicker, a second defense, maybe a second tight end, someone that you can drop, I think he's a worthwhile stash because he has a skill set that should see a fair amount of targets. And he's the only guy that Liam Cohen and GM James Gladstone hand selected to come into this offense, right? So a bit of a longer tail on his trajectory, but someone, if you can be patient with and you have the room for, I think is worthy of a stash.
Got some action going down in the chat right now from the IBC family. Rob saying depth charts are kind of BS. Gibbs is still listed as Monty's backup. Hampton still listed as Najee's. Yeah, there's definitely some gamesmanship, I think, that happens with this 100%, in my opinion. But, so, some of them are legit. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Caleb Johnson is starting out as the RB3 in Pittsburgh, just because that's kind of the game that Mike Tomlin likes to play. It's kind of the game that we've seen Artie Smith play as well. So, and then I think this is just a troll job from Philly Mike saying Mike Evans is now a Kansas City Chief. Whoa. I did just check Adam Schefter's Twitter. I don't have that confirmed. Is this an inside joke? Is it something I'm not aware of? Or is this actually, we got some tea leaves out there? What's going on here, boys?
I haven't seen anything about it. Maybe it was the not the Adam Schefter, but was it the Adam Scheffler
Did you get punked by Adam Scheffler, Mike? Is that what you did here, buddy? Listen, I would be pretty shocked if that were to go down. How about it, Eric? I'd be pretty upset too for all my Mike Evans shares.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way that goes down, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mike Evans is a Buccaneer through and through. He wants to, and they want him to break that record in a Buccaneers uniform. Maybe a year or two down the road when he's out there chasing titles, chasing another ring, you can make a case for it. But I don't think we're going to see him moved anytime in the near term.
No, they just signed him.
Let's go. I appreciate you coming in here and messing with us, Mike. Someone's got to do that. Someone's got to play that role. Ben saying only Jerry Jones can make that trade.
Yeah,
Ben's a recovering
for it.
Yeah, recovering Cowboys fan. There is our guy Ben. I want to stay with the Kansas City Chiefs. So with my big game hunting target, this is my stash that's under 25% rostered on ESPN. Give me Kareem Hunt, because there's kind of this collective groupthink that I think is pretty dangerous going around right now in the fantasy football circle, is that Isaiah Pacheco is immediately going to jump back into his 80% snap share that he had last year before the injury. And while I do think we see an increase from the 30-some% snap shares that we saw down the stretch last season after he returned from that broken fibula, I still think Kareem Hunt, who averaged 42% of snaps after Pacheco returned and into the AFC Championship game, does have a role in this offense. And I know we've been talking about a bunch of dusty players. Nick Chubb's already got a couple of shout-outs here. We talked about DeAndre Hopkins. I'm surprised Amari Cooper hasn't got a shout-out yet. But I think this coaching staff really trusts him, man. And I think Patrick Mahomes trusts him as well. He had 232 total touches last season in 13 regular season games. That's a 17.8 touch average per game. Maybe Brashard Smith gets in the mix. Maybe this is a full-blown committee, or maybe it's a 1A, 1B situation where we're getting flex-worthy numbers from both Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. That's kind of the stake here. I don't think Kareem Hunt is going to overtake Pacheco at any time, but I still think at the same time, we could be looking at a situation where they're both getting, 9-10 points a game, and Kareem Hunt's a value going pretty much undrafted everywhere, Eric.
I think it's a bit of a bridge too far for me. I don't think that he will be completely worked out of this offense, but I think it's going to be Isaiah Pacheco's opportunity first and foremost. Now, he's not the type of player that is infallible, right? He can certainly cede some of that work to someone like Kareem Hunt, but I think the first bite at the apple, so to speak, is going to go to Isaiah Pacheco, and Kareem Hunt might see a little bit of goal line work here or there, but he's very much so going to be an afterthought in this rotation, at least for my money.
What do you think, Tyler? If you had to bet money on it, what do you think Isaiah Pacheco's workload is going to be like? What's the snap percentage do you think? I mean, it was 70-80% late in 2023, early 2024, and then it never got really back above that 30-40 mark.
I think probably 60-65 would be my guess. Like a first, second down type deal. This is another backfield that I've been staying away from. Unless it's like a late round grab in a super deep league on the rookie in the backfield. I haven't invested in this backfield much, but I do think there's a possibility there for him. We
just got to hope Brashard Smith isn't involved. That would pretty much ruin everything. Yeah.
Yeah. If Brashard Smith does what everybody hopes he does and plays that Jerick McKinnon role, and he looks electric at all, then this is just a complete wash.
Yep, I agree. Let's sit on it for a week. And I think the great things about a lot of these targets we're bringing up tonight is they're almost some of these players, at least for Hopkins and Kareem Hunt, we're going to see what their role is very early on. And if they don't work out in week 1, week 2, they're gone, right? With a Tuten, you might have to hang on for a couple weeks. Same with Woody Marks, but some of these other older players, if they don't have a role right away, and unless injury gets to him, they might not have one. So, Tyler, I'm going to throw it back over to you, though. You're getting away from the old heads, and you're going with a talented rookie wide receiver out there in the great state of Michigan. Who do you have?
Yeah. So, my draft strategy typically in fantasy, it's won me a lot of championships, is to go running back heavy early. So to get my guys at running back that I know can last me through the season, or at least get some bandwidth, and maybe even I have somebody late that I'll be able to trade later, right? Because everybody else's running back rooms will be depleted. And so by doing that, I have to survive on later wide receivers. And typically that goes, I win in the area of unproven rookies. Like last year, BTJ in the teens, like you're drafting them, like a Lad McConkey last year. Now I'm not saying that Isaac TeSlaa is those, right? But TeSlaa came in and caught a touchdown in every single game in the preseason. He did everything that we expected him to do. He had catches in traffic in the end zone. He had go routes. He beat them deep and made great catches. Like, he did everything you wanted to see. And the Lions were like, oh, great. We traded up for this guy. And he gave us exactly what we thought he would give us in this preseason. And so let's go ahead and boot Tim Patrick out because we're good, right? Like, we're good. And let's bring this in and let's play it. Let's let him, from the beginning, play an outside receiver role. And I think he's going to get that opportunity. I think that we may see a little bit more of Amon-Ra through the middle, out of the slot, maybe a little bit of mixture there. But I think Tesla's going to have a role in this offense early. And, when it comes to, like, you guys know I'm a Razorback fan. So, like, there's a little bit of partialness to this. But coming out of Arkansas, he didn't have that great numbers. But, like, one of the big things about him was his hands and his ability to catch and his catch radius. Like, it was great. And so, like, then seeing that translate to the NFL, and I mean, obviously they saw it. They went up and picked him. Everybody's like, whoa, didn't expect that happen for him to go that early. And we're seeing exactly why. And so with that kind of investment, and then furthermore, another statement of fact and like, hey, we believe in this guy, I think he carves out a role early. And all it's going to take is one 40-yard touchdown, in the next 2 weeks, and he's going to be gone. And you're not going to be able to get him all season. And you're talking about somebody later in the season, especially if you see JMO twist an ankle or any kind of injury, and that you could see some real benefit from. So, like, when you're talking about deep stashes, like somebody I want to put on my roster, I'm not starting week 1, but that by week 6, week 7 could really be performing for me, I'm in.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing here about TeSlaa, Eric, is that he's kind of started to check these boxes. One, the Lions move up, and not only do they move up, but they give up a day 2 draft pick for 2026 to go get this guy. Then they trade Tim Patrick as well, right? They get rid of Tim Patrick. They say, hey, see you later. Try to recoup some of that draft capital that they spent getting this guy out of Arkansas. And I think Rob makes a great point as well, saying in his mind, if TeSlaa didn't want to go to his dad's college and spent 4 years there, he'd probably be a first rounder, 6'4", explosive speed, jumping ability, can catch, a smart gem. So are you kind of in this boat with Tyler and our guy Rob apparently as well, Eric, or is it just a situation that it really would take an injury for you to think that Isaac TeSlaa has standalone fantasy value?
It's tricky. I am one of the biggest Isaac TeSlaa fans out there as a prospect. I was getting name checked on these streets for taking him as a second rounder in rookie drafts right after he got drafted by the Detroit Lions, right? Like same point I was making with Woody Marks, right? When someone tells you who they are or what they think, believe them. The Detroit Lions did that by sending out that day 2 draft capital to bring him in. He is one of the more electric kind of size, speed, freak athlete type prospects that we've seen in recent years. It's just an unproven asset. And he started to prove his case over the course of the offseason, right? In the preseason. As he got more and more time on the field, he checked more and more boxes. My hesitation is I think he's going to be a real pain in the side to try to roster in managed leagues, right? He's going to be someone that his role in the offense, for my money, is potentially the sacrificial X. He's going to be running a lot of vertical routes. He's going to be out there drawing some defensive attention away from guys like Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams, but he will pop.
Could be, yeah.
Right? Figuring out which weeks he's going to pop is probably going to drive you crazy over the course of the season, right? So Tyler completely understood the assignment. This is a guy that has a ton of upside, and he's an injury away from being a legitimate game changer for your fantasy team. he's certainly a guy that when he has that boom week, he's going to be immediately off waivers. So he's the type of guy that I like to stash. He's just not someone that I'm prioritizing in managed leagues. He's much more of a dynasty and a best ball target for me.
Who is someone, Eric, that you are prioritizing in managed leagues, potentially an IR stash for you?
Yeah, that is very much so the nature of this beast, right? You want a roster spot to go out and pick up an Isaac TeSlaa, Bhayshul, Tuten, go out and add Jalen Coker. He is on IR designated to return. He's expected to miss 4 or 5 weeks with his quad injury. And he is a player that the team has gone out and shown you and told you everything they feel about him, right? There was a turning point in his rookie campaign after he came in as an undrafted free agent where all of a sudden they hit the green light on him and he was seeing 80, 90+% route participation and snap share in games where he saw more than 6 targets. He was averaging 15.2 fantasy points per game. His PFF grade is in the mid 70s, which is phenomenal for an undrafted rookie, right? So there's a lot of meat on this bone. There's a lot of upside. They obviously let Adam Thielen go, and they let Hunter Renfrow go to really clear out the opportunity for him to play that big slot role. And then he gets injured, right? So I think he's got some upside down the stretch, but he's someone that you can add in now and create some roster space by moving him to your IR spot if you have it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, all the hashtag cokeheads, please stand up. Please stand up. Tyler, round us out here with just an honorable mention. Of course, I go and put, I write the episode description out, I write the title out, and then Tyler comes, hey, I got a little honorable mention. So not one of the 6 top fantasy football draft leftovers, but a great secondary option for you here. Who do you have for us?
Yeah, this is another stash. Like that team's, Dante Thornton is another fast, big wide receiver. And, in the preseason, you saw many times he got open. He broke the deep route. He burned the DB. And you just had one of these second string quarterbacks that just couldn't put the ball on him, and like there was like 4 or 5 easy, I thought 40+ yard touchdown receptions that he could have had if the ball had any sort of relevant placement. And so, I think that, obviously Jacoby's going to be a guy, right? Even though he's unhappy, even though he's requested a trade, he's going to be a guy. Amari Cooper, we don't know what we have. Trey Tucker's not playing the outside, right? And so this like Will Fuller-esque like deep ball go route roll is wide open. And like for Eric, like you said, maybe that means a lot of ups and downs, right? Like maybe that means boom weeks, spike weeks, but one thing, Geno does have a better deep ball percentage of hitting than anybody else on that roster. He doesn't have an ugly deep ball. So, if he can get it out there, I think Dante Thornton can catch it and score some touchdowns. And so, like, for somebody, again, it's basically free, that's owned in less than 6% of leagues, that's a stash, because as that offense gets going, as Pete Carroll gets them doing what he gets them doing, and especially as he works the play action and looks deep, Geno looks for that DK Metcalf type of receiver out there. It's gonna be Thornton, and there's nobody else really that can be that guy, right? That can be the DK for Geno in this offense. And so, the upside's huge. And for me, if I'm stashing that's what I want. I don't want somebody that could have a role for a couple games, or somebody that could go off and have one big game and I'm guessing at it, right? Like, I want somebody that could actually have real upside potential. And both these guys, especially Dante Thornton, could absolutely have that as a deep ball threat.
Yeah, kind of like a Rashid Shaheed type of situation where he might not be the number 1 or maybe even the number 2 option when it comes to target order, just because Brock Bowers is also there. But at the same time, he could see consistent air yards in an offense from a guy who, in Geno Smith, like, say what you want, but, not the most accurate quarterback. And also a guy who, at least when he had DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, wasn't afraid to attack down the field. So I actually really like this call a lot. Jack Besh, I'm guilty for it. I think I was hyping him up all off season, and it seems like Thornton just absolutely overtook him in this depth chart in the pecking order. So like that call, boys. Like overall the slate of in the scope targets we threw out to everyone. We'll go back through them one more time just so everyone can get a quick recap of them. In shallower leagues, look out for Woody Marks, of course, Nuke Hopkins, Kareem Hunt, Bhayshul, Tuten, and then when you get a little deeper, Jalen Coker, Isaac TeSlaa, and Dante Thornton Jr. of the Las Vegas Raiders. And gentlemen, let's go ahead and turn the page and get to our best bets for week 1 in between bets.
Between bets. Between bets.
So it is week 1 of the NFL season. It's between bets. We're going to help give you our best plays of the week. And, while we want to get excited, while we want to go head first into the betting streets, because it's been so long since we've had real professional football to gamble on, over 7 months, I do want to, approach this with a word of caution. Like a lot, we're going to learn a ton this week. I mean, who would have thought just in the collegiate betting streets this past week that Florida State would just run Alabama out of the building, right? Like crazy things can happen. There's not actually, I actually need to give, this is the annual Steve shout out. Steve couldn't make the program tonight, but he did tell me not to bet the Alabama money line parlay. Like I had a couple places there. So shout out to Steve, but just with that in mind, like let's enter, let's have fun here, but let's also bet with caution. Let's not go too crazy in the unit allocation. Stick your cards close to the vest. But with that said, Eric, I'll turn it over to you first. Let's get into the ATS money line. What is something against the spread that you're looking at potentially getting down on as we speak?
Man, Seth is out here preaching a word of caution, and rightfully so, but I'm out here in mid-season form looking for a home doggy, and boy, have I found one. The Chicago Bears getting 1.5 against the Minnesota Vikings. I'm always a sucker for a home dog. I'll take a long look at them, even if they should clearly, rightfully be an underdog. But I don't think that's necessarily the case with the Chicago Bears. Obviously, you look at these two teams' records from last season, and it would seem like they are miles apart. But with another offseason championship for the Chicago Bears, not the least of which bringing in new head coach Ben Johnson, I think they're going to be very, very competitive. This is obviously a Minnesota Vikings team that their head coach is very familiar with their offensive tendencies and how they like to defend his game plan in particular. So I think they'll be very well prepared. And moreover than anything else, I am always looking at an opportunity to bet against a rookie quarterback making his NFL debut. And while he might be a year removed from being drafted, this will be J.J. McCarthy's NFL debut. So to get 1.5 in that circumstance at home, this one feels like a clear no-brainer for me.
It's one that, while I feel like the Vikings will likely win this game, it feels like EV value, right? It feels like getting Chicago at home against a rookie quarterback making his first start. It makes all the sense in the world. We know no Jordan Addison for this one. For the Vikings, they just brought Adam Thielen back in. Probably knows this offense pretty well working with KOC before, but definitely a lot of question marks there. And I don't think it would surprise anyone if the Vikings did slip up there in prime time early in week 1. Tyler, throwing it over to you for your favorite ATS pick this week.
Yeah, I'm taking Jacksonville. Now, when I saw the odds, it was -3, but -3.5, I'm fine with. Look, Liam Cohen is coming in, and you're talking about somebody that took a Baker Mayfield that was being passed around the league like a sandwich that nobody wanted to take a bite of, right? And he turns him into a top echelon quarterback. And then you go to Jacksonville, you give him extra weapons. You give them a Trevor Lawrence, a huge arm. They invested in the offense. They've got a few great running backs. I think it's wheels up for Jacksonville. Like they're going to shoot off. And Carolina, I don't know about you guys, it doesn't feel like anything's really changed. Like they didn't really hammer the offensive line to make it that much better. Adam Thielen gets shipped out, and I think, Coker's going to fill the gap. Coker gets hurt, and now they re-sign Hunter Renfrow. So they're reaching for talent on that roster to try to fill it. And I just think, outside of, Chuba, they're going to have issues scoring, especially because Jacksonville's defense, they invested early in their defense, and they've got some of the top linebackers. They've got a great pass rush. I just don't see a world where Jacksonville doesn't win this game convincingly. And maybe I'm just not in on Carolina, or I'm still, I don't know. It just is, to me, this is easy money.
Yeah, it's super interesting because I will say, like, Tedero McMillan, let's not forget him. He can change the dynamic of this game. But at the same time, I liked him a lot more when there was a veteran like Adam Thielen drawing some coverage off him, or even a talented guy in his second year coming out of Holy Cross in Jalen Coker, working out of that slot. So it will be a mix. I don't think Hunter Renfrow is going to draw a ton of eyes out there in the slot. Of course, we'll have Xavier Legette, but I think Jacksonville is very much live to cover this spread. If I could get it back under a touchdown, if I get it in -2.5, if I could tease that down, I think I maybe would. So excited to see what the Jags can unload here in week 1 in the Liam Cohen era. Let's go to the total markets. And for me, one of my favorite picks of the entire slate is the New York Giants against the Washington Commanders. I'm going under 45.5. Really was surprised to see this total this high up here. I got it -108 at FanDuel as well. So under -110 a little bit. You always like to see that. But I think if we're going for the type of game where we could see a little bit of struggle out of some offenses, I think this is the game. So this really is a fade of both the Commanders offense, and I'm kind of touting the Giants defense here a little bit as well, because the Commanders have had a ton of changes on the offensive side of the ball. 2 new tackles, Laramie Tunsil and rookie Josh Cornerly coming out of Oregon. We have a new wide receiver 2 in Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, and we've talked about him on the show plenty. Eric and Steve and I's opinions all differ whether we care about him missing training camp and the preseason. I do a little bit more. Plus, no more Brian Robinson Jr. in the backfield. We don't know if it's going to be JCM. We don't know if it's going to be Austin Eckler, Chris Rodriguez, Jeremy McNipples, as I like to call him on this particular program. But a lot of question marks there, man. And like, what I don't have question marks about is this Giants front on their defense, man. Like Sexy Dexy, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns. And I also don't think like anyone's going to say like Russell Wilson is really striking the fear to you if you're betting this over. So for me, like Giants were under 64.7% of the time last year. That was the lead best. If you're betting unders last year on the Giants, you were cashing. Conference game 75% to the under, division game 67%. So I'm going 1.5 units down here, hoping for a low scoring affair in the nation's capital. Eric, you also have a under in the totals market.
Yeah, also looking at another division rivalry here with San Francisco heading up to face Seattle and the 12th man in the Pacific Northwest. I've got this one going under 45.5. You mentioned the stats. Typically, we see division games be a little bit closer and a little bit lower scoring in nature. But if nothing else, you look at these two teams, and these are teams that have legitimate questions about their depth at the wide receiver position, right? You've got JSN and the corpse of Cooper Kupp and a bunch of rookies and unproven assets on the Seattle side. And basically everyone that's ever donned a uniform for San Francisco is either suspended or injured in their wide receiver room. It's going to be Ricky Pearsall. Maybe we get lucky and see Juwan Jennings, and probably some Marcus Valdes-Scantling, who's a cast-off, couldn't even make the team on the other side of the field, the Seattle Seahawks. So This is all to say that I think from a personnel standpoint, the passing game is going to struggle. And from a scheme standpoint, two teams that very much so prioritize the run in terms of how they build out the rest of their offense. So I think we're going to see a lot of carries on both sides of the ball. And we're going to see a lot of time ticking off that clock. And I think we're going to see them come under 43.5 by a pretty good margin.
They might be calling back Old Faithful Michael Crabtree, best wide receiver in the league, baby. Best wide receiver in the league. They might need him at some point soon. Tyler, take us into the money line market where you have not one, but two underdog money lines you're ripping out here in week 1. What do you have for us, man?
Yeah, so one, I love those calls, and I'll touch a little bit on that San Francisco game later when we get to parlays. But as far as money lines go, so there's two there. First is the Falcons, or sorry, I'll go Detroit first. Sorry, Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. This Lions offense is essentially the same, if not better, right? Another year in. That defense was a young defense last year and continued to only get better. And they're getting their primary pass rusher back. Like to me, and I know Green Bay just got Micah Parsons and everybody's hype and all the lines show its hype.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's fine. One thing that the Lions make sure that they have is a good offensive line. I know they lost their center, but their center's not going to be the one blocking Micah Parsons. So either way, I'm excited about this game. I think the Lions could beat them. I think that Green Bay is still trying to figure out their receiving core. They're trying to figure out how that's gonna work. And I don't know. Like to me, the odds just I like the Lions in this game.
Okay. All right. And then also a Falcons money line pull for you.
Yeah, the Buccaneers just lost their OC, who's changed everything for them. And while I do think Emeka is an excellent add in the place of Godwin, they also lost their top tackle. So who knows there, right? But the Falcons, man, the Falcons offense last year, as Penix came in, looked electric. They invested in that defense. Like that, the pass rush for the Falcons is going to be another level from what we saw. And their defense was not awful last season. So, this game, I think that Tampa goes in, and I think they're a little bit cocky about it. But I think it is very, very, very much a possibility of a Falcons upset, especially if Penix gives us any glimpse into actually being able to get that ball downfield. Even you got Bijan. Like it's that offense is primed. Their defense is primed. Like I'm a little worried that Falcons era may be trying to make a resurfacing, and I don't want that to happen. But man, they're doing a good job of building a team.
Well, the Falcons are in a spot right here that has been super profitable for sports bettors in week one historically when you're looking at these home dogs, right? So I do like the Falcons play. Detroit, I think your analysis is spot on too. Like I think the Packers are definitely overvalued. I mean, we saw a 600-point swing just in their Super Bowl odds with the Micah Parsons deal. We know he's probably going to have to take some type of injection to get out there on the field. Probably not going to be at 100%. This is a defense that has been coached up and is schemed well, but I think it will take him some time to get acclimated there. So, Eric, you also are thinking a potential home dog pulls an upset out there in Las Vegas.
And I told you I've got a type, and that type is home doggies. The Las Vegas Raiders are getting 2.5 points on the money line, which equates over to a plus 130 number on the money line. I think I mentioned the spread earlier. And I really like how this one shakes out for the Raiders in particular, right? Like this is a team that by record and by several statistical measures was already better than the New England Patriots last year. And then they went out and made, in combination, the biggest improvement to their quarterback and head coach and play caller in all of the offseason. Tell me one team that made better gains in all three of those departments. Yeah. I'll wait because you can't do it. So I think that people are thinking that this Raiders team is going to be a doormat this year, and they absolutely are not. I think this offense is going to be very effective with Ashton Genty back there and what Chip Kelly can scheme up. We're talking about a quarterback and Geno Smith that can very much so take advantage of play action and is not afraid to uncork contested catches and downfield balls. And we're looking at a New England team that might be without arguably their best defensive player, that being Christian Gonzalez, working his way back from a leg injury, not even practicing quite yet at this point in the week. So there's just enough here to where I think this should be a little bit more of a pick'em type of situation. So to get plus money for a Raiders team that is much improved at home is exactly the type of wager I'm looking for.
All right, well, let me take you into the player props market, and very interested here in a DeVonta Smith over 54.5 receiving yards. Right now, there are a ton of boosts. There's a ton of free no sweat bets out there right now at FanDuel, at DraftKings. I used a 50% boost for Thursday night football to get this up to plus 132 at FanDuel. I went 2 units down on this, and like, this is the one way I want to get invested in this opener, because I think the Cowboys kind of are live to win. Like, if you want to sprinkle a little bit on that money line, I understand. But I think what the Cowboys will lack in pass rush will actually really help Jalen Hurts open things up in the deep passing game. And before last season, like, let's not forget that DeVonta Smith was a guy who really liked to stretch the field. Traditionally was kind of one of those deep target earners in this offense. 11.9 yards ADOT in his first 3 seasons compared to 9.1 with Kellen Moore at the helm. Trayvon Diggs, we know him. We know Bland out there for the Cowboys at cornerback. They're very, very aggressive guys. I mean, Deron Bland, Trayvon, they've always been going after various interception records. I think they could get burned by Smith, by A.J. Brown deep. And let's not forget, too, Trayvon Diggs coming off that ACL tear. So Smith hit this line in 4 straight games to open up last season, and 6 out of the first 7 as well. That was before the Eagles became incredibly run-centric, and I don't know if DeVonta Smith ever got fully healthy after missing a couple games as well. So the last time he faced the Cowboys, he went for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. I just need 54.5, and I'm getting this over. So that is how I'm going to start out the player prop market, and I'll throw it over to you, Eric, for your first player prop.
Yeah, I'm looking at one of the games that I think is actually going to be kind of interesting overall, but probably my favorite way to get exposure to it is by the Alvin Kamara receptions line, currently sitting at 4.5 at our friends at DraftKings. You can get a minus 105 price to take the over on that, and that is precisely what I will do. If you look at the game environment itself, the Cardinals are the 3rd biggest favorite to open the NFL season in Week 1. They're laying between 6.5 and 7 points, depending on your book of choice. And you look at Alvin Kamara, and everything is pointing to the type of circumstance that you want him to have. Last year alone, in games where the Saints were trailing, he was averaging 7.3 targets relative to 4.6 in games where they were tied, or points where they were tied, or they were leading. And you also look at Spencer Rattler under center in those 4 games that he played last year, probably many of them games where they were trailing. Alvin Kamara's targets also spiked up by a full 2 targets, from 5.8 to 7.8. So very clearly, in circumstances where the Saints are trailing, Alvin Kamara is getting peppered with targets, and I like him to convert at least 5 of them into receptions in this week.
Yeah, that'll bring us to my parlay of the week, plus 138 FanDuel. I want to stick in this game. First leg here, it is the Cardinals money line, minus 290. It is a lot of juice to drink for an NFL Week 1 game, but Spencer Rattler, 0-7 as a starter. He's lost by an average of 17.6 points in those games. And like, I'm not overly high. I'm not smoking that Cardinals pack or anything coming into the season, but at the same time, they have a ton of continuity. They added some really nice pieces on their defense. Josh Sweat they brought in free agency. They added Will Johnson to shore up that cornerback 2 position as well. And the leg 2 of this parlay, it's the Alvin Kamara. Instead of the receptions total that you're going with, Eric, I'm just going to go over 28.5 receiving yards, minus 114 for my second legs. This gives me plus 138. So kind of like a skinny parlay, if you would. But Kamara averaged more than 10 yards over this last year, 38.7, had 55 and 58 receiving yards per game in the last 2 Spencer Rattler starts. Like, we're going to see a ton of checkdowns. We're going to see a ton of dump offs to Alvin Kamara. He's going to be plenty involved here. So I'm kind of tailing you with the Kamara play. And I think if the Cardinals are out front, the Saints are going to have to chuck it a lot. And Kamara will be a main beneficiary to that. So Tyler, I'm sending it back to the player prop market for you. You not only have a player you're interested in betting straight up, but also someone you're adding to your parlay of the week.
Yeah. So do you want me to go my prop and then the parlay, or just go straight parlay?
Put them both. Yeah, put them both out
so
there.
My player prop of the week is TreVeyon Henderson over 67.5 rushing and receiving yards. look, this guy's electric. Okay. In college, sharing the backfield, still had had 1,300 all-purpose yards and 11 touchdowns. He's an absolute stud. We saw it in the preseason, 100-yard kickoff return.
Yeah.
And they only gave him 5 carries. They only gave him 5 carries, and he still averaged over 7 yards a carry in preseason. But the fact, like, if you look at the narrative, right, the fact that they only gave him 5 carries, right, lets you know there's a plan for him.
Keeping him fresh.
They're not worried about seeing what he can do in the preseason. Like, he's going to get instantaneous work. And he is miles better than Ramondre Stevenson. And so, to me, this line is not tough, rushing and receiving. And especially, it's not like the Raiders let Spillane walk. Like, it's not like this defense is just going to be, a booger. So I really like this line, and I think that it could absolutely carry, and then getting to a parlay, back to what you said, Eric. I think I'm with you. I think San Francisco is a roll the clock, like, let's run the football, let's not push it, and so pairing that Travion over 67.5 yards. All purpose with a Christian McCaffrey over 72 yards rushing on a very depleted Seahawks defense, I think is a stellar call. And then, and then pulling from both y'all's book, and I wouldn't even, so some sports books will allow you, but I wouldn't even mind going over 28.5 and over 4.5 receptions, just to give my odds a little bit of a bump. But even without that, if you just go 28.5 yards receiving, Christian McCaffrey over 72.5 rushing yards, and Travion over 67.5 all-purpose rushing and receiving yards, you're looking at a plus 561.
Wow. I like that. I really do. I really do like that. I think we just had Tyler. Did Tyler freeze for you as well, Eric? Okay, you're back. We're good. We're good. We roll on. We roll on here. No, I like that ticket a lot, Tyler. I think that's one I actually might have to tail you on that. Those other 2 legs, because I think whether it's that or like a CMC anytime touchdown, I think playing into that narrative that there aren't a lot of great weapons out there for Brock Purdy to deal with can get you a nice payout. So plus 561 for Tyler's parlay of the week. Plus 138 for mine. Great job on the bets this week, guys. I do want to round out the show, though, with our touchdown calls. It's a new addition to the IBT podcast. You can make your touchdown calls. We'll have a leaderboard next week where everyone can get in there. You can also, if you want to get involved in the touchdown contest, you can join the IBT family. The link is in the episode description. You can also go to in-betweenmedia.com and join our community from there. You're going to get access into our memorabilia giveaways. You're going to get access to our exclusive Q&A Discord show as well. And you're going to join the conversation with our viewers and our analysts in our Discord. You're going to get picks and our touchdown call contest. The rules for the contest, it's simple, boys, and we're not breaking the rules. So listen up once and once only. 2 touchdown calls per week. One of them can be minus money. One has to be plus money. So you can't be betting Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley every single week. And you can only use a player 2 times per season. This is going into the Super Bowl, so you'll need roughly 40 picks, but you can use at least a player more than once. I thought 2 was a good number, and we want to go over that. So, Eric, give us your 2 touchdown calls for this week, my friend. What's going to get you on the board and get you that absolutely sweet plat coming from Dynasty Decks?
Man, so you said that I have to avoid a negative money player, or at least one has to be plus money, and I'll parlay that. I'll double down and make them both plus money. My shorter odds are Mike Evans to score an anytime touchdown. That's actually plus 110. I really like that price. I would think that he would actually be negative money if you thought about it in a vacuum, with the number of pieces that they're missing, with his history against this Atlanta Falcons team in a game that is projected to score a fair number of points. Love getting him at plus money. And arguably my favorite of the 2, David Njoku, plus 230 to score a touchdown. I mean, look, this is going to be a game that should also score up, but one that is going to be very lopsided, right? The Browns should be playing a fair amount of catch up in this game. But also you look back to his time with Joe Flacco from a few seasons ago, and his receiving scores went up by almost 60%, right? Like this is the guy that was a favorite target of Joe Flacco's, that was getting heavily targeted and heavily involved in games where Flacco was starting. That plus the game script, I love the plus 230 price for Njoku to find his way into the end zone this week.
All right, Tyler, you got to get on the board here. You don't want an 0-2 start to the season. Who are your touchdown calls for week number 1 in the IBT touchdown call contest?
I was late to this, so I'm still debating on my running back call that I'm going to place in. But I'll start with I think my go-to would have been Kyren Williams.
Okay.
But I do really very sneakily like the Texans defense this year. I think that they have a really nasty front seven, and I'm really excited about that. So I might actually pivot this one and go with Chris Rodriguez anytime touchdown. Going into this game, look, if we're gonna, you said we can only play somebody twice a season.
Yeah,
I'm gonna use it up right now for Chris Rodriguez, because halfway through this 3-4 games in the season, we may be seeing a lot of JCM. Who knows? But it was very clear that they were happy with Rodriguez. And when he had the ball, especially doing the Brian Robinson Jr. role, he looked good. Just running the football up the middle, he looked good. He was able to break contact. And I think that when they get into any type of goal line situation, if it's not Jaden Daniels, it's Chris Rodriguez. I think that they're going to let him,
a bad call,
slam that thing home. And so, I won't use my Kyren touchdown this year. This week, I may go ahead and go with Chris Rodriguez and use a Kyren touchdown maybe when they play Seattle, which I think will be an easy call. But I think that this one could really pop, and the odds are super favorable. And this is actually a bet that I'm probably going to roll with this week. Play at plus 240 with Chris Rodriguez on an anytime touchdown. And then the next one is T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins could easily hit the end zone this week. The Bengals are going to survive by offense. It's not like the defense is good. They're going to have to survive by offense.
You got no choice.
And you've got Denzel Ward's most likely going to be on Chase, and Higgins has a knack to just get open in the red zone, and he's going to be facing cornerback number 2, which is it's not like Greg Newsome is just not good, but I think that T. Higgins can easily land a touchdown here. I think he's going to have to land a touchdown in this game. Not that the Browns are going to necessarily move the football or they're going to do anything extravagant. I just think that they're going to score based on how bad the Bengals defense is, and the Bengals they're going to do what the Bengals do, and that's play offense. Where they spent all their money, all their salary cap is tied up in their offense. That's one of the reasons they won't. They probably are not going to re-sign Trey Hendrickson long term, even though he's a sack leader last year. I like T. Higgins to get in the end zone, especially at plus 150. It's solid for me.
Yeah, I like that as well. The only thing I don't like is you almost broke the rules right away. You almost gave us 3 touchdown calls, but you talked yourself out of one. So I appreciate that. And the Chris Rodriguez call, I like that as well. I think that is a sneaky play. We'll see if it's him or Austin Eckler who would get those carries, I would think, right off the bat. So we'll see what happens there in that one. For me, I'm keeping it pretty simple here in week 1. Give me Derrick Henry anytime touchdown. Minus 140, though, at FanDuel. What a great number. We are never going to see minus 140 again. You will never see a line under minus 150 again. If you even wait till closer to the weekend to bet this, they're going to have an anytime touchdown boost for 50%. You can get this closer to even money. So I'm all in here on a guy who I'm going to put multiple units down on this one, because he scored a touchdown in 78.9% of games last season, 11 straight games to start the season, 4 straight to end the season. He scored 3 touchdowns in 2 games against Buffalo. I'll gladly take that in a game that's projected a total of 50.5 points, the highest on the slate by 3 points. I want invested in it, and I'm going to get invested with a Derrick Henry anytime touchdown call. And then bring it up, baby. Here we go. Tyler Warren, sticking true to my word. Look, the job is on the line for Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen with the benching of Anthony Richardson. They have to prove that they got it right with their big man, get him involved. They spent a top 15 draft pick on him this season. And last year in week 1, we took Wan'Dale Robinson on an anytime touchdown. Well, who was his quarterback at that time? It was Daniel Jones. He's bringing the good vibes here in week 1. I think Warren will see similar usage in that short to intermediate role. And also maybe we get a little tush-push action as well. AR on the bench. So they might need to dial up someone big in the red zone. Why not a guy who's done it before in Andy Kotelnicki's offense down in Penn State? Caught 3 of 40 in his preseason debut. I'm expecting something similar here because, look, NFL defenses, they might just not know what they're getting into with an exciting white out here in Tyler Warren. So plus 275, love that number. Going to probably even try to boost that up just a little bit. Guys, we want to hear from you as well. We want to hear from you in the chat, in the comments after the fact, your best bet for week 1 of the season. Looks like we have we have our guy Rob checking in saying, I also like the Broncos Titans under. Surtain will shut down Ridley. Titans defense also low-key decent. Something like Broncos 24, Titans 3. I do think the Titans will surprise people very early in the season. I think they'll be better on offense than we think. But I still do like an under there potentially with the Broncos having such a great defense. Steele checking in over on Facebook saying, Seth, fantasy lifesaver, Woolcock. That's a new one. I appreciate you, Steely Dan. Thanks for checking up. Hope you're having a great evening up there in Erie. And a question from our boy BHS Cardinal, new subscriber to the channel as of tonight. Pickens or Higgins this week? It's pretty easily Higgins for me. What about you, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm with Higgins. The Philly defense is just nasty. Now I do like Pickens over the season.
Same, agreed.
He's finally got a quarterback that's going to get him the ball. I'm really excited about that, and a little bit of pressure off CD there. But I think that, like I said, with the anytime touchdown, Higgins is going to get in the end zone. I'm not sure if Pickens gets in the end zone. We'll see. But, the Philly defense is just strong and the secondary is solid.
Eric, your thoughts here on Pickens and Higgins and also the new nickname from the crowd?
I am much closer between these two than it sounds, but it's still Higgins for me. I think that Pickens can have a sneaky good week here. The Cowboys are going to need to score, and we look at the secondary in particular. Like, we know that Quinyon Mitchell is going to be spending a lot of time with CeeDee Lamb. We know that Cooper DeJean is going to be operating largely out of the slot or as the nickel, which he did last year. But that alternative exterior cornerback is going to be a problem for them this year. They'll probably start Jacorian Bennett, and I think that Pickens can eat that guy alive. So Pickens is getting a big boost for me, just not quite enough to get ahead of Higgins.
Okay, and Brent in the chat asking a question you might be pretty privy to, Eric, being a Houston Texans fan, truther, some would argue loyalist to a fault. But at the same time, where are you going with Jaden Higgins this week? Can you start him in a normal league? How deep would you have to go to be starting someone here in Higgins against a Rams secondary? Keep in mind that was pretty stout against fantasy wide receivers. A top 10 toughest matchup overall in the season last year, my friend. 3 wide receiver league as well.
I think you're having to go a bit deeper than 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes to be considering Jaden Higgins in week number 1. If this is like a tag team question with BHS Cardinal, certainly George Pickens over Jaden Higgins. But we'll assume that it was the T variety of the Higgins in question. Look, I'm really excited for what Jaden Higgins can be in this offense and how they carve out a role for him. But my expectation is they will do just that. They're going to have to carve this out, right? It's not going to be super clear the ways in which they'll get him involved in week number 1 or even in the first month of the season, right? So probably a little too cute. I mean, there's a high likelihood of there being even more viable options than Jaden Higgins on your waiver wire before you're actually clicking the button on his name.
Okay. Tyler, any thoughts for you on Quinshon Judkins? Are you interested in rostering him with the news that he could potentially return to the team, or is it just too much time missed to get back out on the field and be a fantasy difference maker in year one?
So rostering, yes, I will roster him.
Okay.
He is by far more talented than anybody else on that roster at the running back position. They invested heavily in a running back, drafting him that early. I know they have Samson, I know they've got some other options, but Judkins is special. And so for me, rostering, yes. Starting, no. If he comes back and he signs this week and they're like, okay, he's ready to go week one, I ain't in there, bro. I'm not starting him. But you talk about 3 to 4. If you talk about 3 to 4 weeks in, or if you're talking about somebody that you could roster, and he didn't really qualify for our late or our roster hold segment there, but somebody that you could hold that by week 6 or 7 is really doing good things. To me, the talent level, the player, and the possibilities are worth rostering.
Just have to be patient. Yeah.
You just got to be able to be patient. And I may even, if he doesn't sign this week, there may be some leagues that he gets dropped in, or that you trade a super late round pick for. And I am a big believer in the second half of the season. And I'll start a season out 0-6 and come back and win a championship. I don't care. I'm not afraid of losing a few games early. I'm not one of those that's going to go, oh, my season's over. I will stash players for the end of the season and for the run, because I'm pretty confident I'm going to be there. So he's one of those, and I would happily grab him and stash him.
Ben reminding us, Drake London has over 75.5 receiving yards line out there currently for him. He's had 120 plus receiving yards in all 3 games at home against Tampa Bay, average 117.3 yards in Penix's 3 starts. So love that. Real quickly, rapid fire here. Drop one, Jaden Blue, Jaden Higgins, Ramondre Stevenson. It's blue for me right now. I'm just not willing to hold him on the roster. Any disagreement for you guys? I just think it's going to be an uphill battle for him, and I'm okay. I think the Cowboys starting running back might not even be on the roster right now.
Yeah, for me, the only one I want out of that group of 3 is Jaden Higgins. I think Jaden Higgins could have a huge role throughout the season, especially if Nico gets banged up like he typically does, or we've seen with Tank Dell, a second receiver in that offense can surely be very viable, right, and produce. So, I'm in. That's the only one I really want. Ramondre, I think he's on his way out. You might get a few dink and dunk touchdowns here and there, but it's going to be like Eric said with a lot of these players, very hit or miss. Could it be this week? Could it be that week? And that's not somebody I want to rely on. And then Jaden Blue, look, the Cowboys run game is crazy. The only one I really want is DeVonta, and that's in hopes that he can be what he can be. But I don't see Dallas just leaning on the run game this year. I think they're going to be very air heavy. So that's a Pickens CD owner, maybe even a little bit of Ferguson. I want the Cowboys pass catchers. I'm not really big on the run back room.
Eric, from our friend Kyle Siebert audio, I have Josh Allen. Do I double flex Khalil Shakir and Coleman? Yeah, as we mentioned, a very high total game, so might be something you want to get invested with. Or do I start Jacoby Myers or Ollie Gordon? What's the play here for our friend Kyle Siebert audio?
Well, I don't think Ollie Gordon is in consideration to be startable this week. At least thus far, the reports out of Miami is that DeVonta is expected to be back and ready to start. So that kind of answers one of the questions by default. The second, honestly, I can make a case for Shakir or Coleman over Jacoby Myers in a vacuum, but I don't want to triple up with the quarterback and 2 receivers from one team. So for me, I would probably go with Myers and Khalil Shakir, because I think the floor is a little bit safer and it's a little bit cleaner of a projection. If you need a bit more upside, though, if you're projected to be a heavy underdog already, I wouldn't mind swapping Shakir out for Coleman.
Yep, I think that's perfect analysis. I hand sign that one as well. Tyler, before we let you out of here, man, in addition to doing all the big money moves you are here for IBT, what do you got going on over there at the Fantasy Sports Advice Network this season that we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, I mean, go to fsan.com. Got a ton of content hitting, articles, podcast shows, sleepers, waiver wire hits, your start sits every single week. We're bringing the heat. We launched our rookie guide this past season. We'll be doing that again this year. Really excited about that product. It was very well received.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, got a ton of content going, a ton of shows, and got some really special in the pipeline. I might give you guys a little demo after the show, just a little glimpse of what's coming. But we're here. We're just covering fantasy, and we're here to help you win. We want to see everybody win a championship. Hoist that trophy this season, and if we can be a part of that, we're glad to be.
Hey, man. Well, hopefully, some bad drunken decisions like drafting DeVonta Smith over Tony Pollard don't come back to burn anyone. And I know if they're watching your channel, they're in good hands, man. So make sure you're checking out Tyler over there at the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. If you rode with us this long on the In Between Fantasy Football podcast, first, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. Also, if you could do us a quick favor, please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And make sure you're subscribing to the new whole channel as well. We've got a ton of new content for you coming. Fantasy football, NFL betting, some college football action, NASCAR betting still rolling on, PGA season, swing season coming up for you here very, very soon, as well as the Ryder Cup. Entertainment betting still popping off for you there as well. So we're going to help you cash more. We're going to help you enjoy the ride along the way. That's what we do here at IBT. Be sure to check out the website, inbetweenmedia.com, for some sick written content. For my friends, Eric Romoff and Tyler Bradley, I'm Seth Wilcock. Thanks for watching, and keep it in between till next time, y'all.